Good morning and welcome to our research class. I will be
Morning, sir.
discussing module number 8, methodology. This is the last discussion sa ating research class. The rest of the meetings will be allotted for consultations na lang. Okay, so for ILOs, please read.
I am expected to, number one, demonstrate understanding on the different components included in Chapter 3 of the research proposal. Examine example of each part of Chapter 3 of the research proposal. Develop comprehensive and well-written Chapter 3 of the approved research title.
Thank you, Ballester. Research. 1. Okay. Chapter 3 of a research report is the methodology. So this portion of the academic paper explains in full details the procedures to be followed in the conduct of research. It includes the following. Sa inyo, for food and service management, descriptive research, you have research locale, population and sampling, research design, research instrument, data gathering procedures, evaluation criteria, and the statistical treatment. For developmental research, computer programming, yan yung kanila, lampasan na natin. So the two research approaches are the only ventures that the students enrolled in this course, Tech Research 1, will pursue. Kaya yan lang yung contextualized na content ng methodology na meron tayo sa lesson 9. Hindi natin i-discuss ang mga bagay na hindi related sa inyo at kung pang-comprog siya, so pang-FSM lang i-discuss natin. So let's discuss each part of the methodology. The first part is the research locale. So the research locale is a term that refers to a specified area and or subject that is being studied in a research project. I will be showing you an example. Siyempre, mag-iintay ulit tayo kasi mag-open pa. Sa research locale, saan ginanap, saan gagawin ang research? Minsan, there are specific barangays. In your case, kung nakakonsentrate ang research local nyo sa Lucena City o sa 3rd District of Quezon or sa buong Quezon Province, that's your research local. But you need to put it into paragraph form and to give some details. Kinabahan ako, kala ko na wala na yung ito tayo sa readiness in mathematics of freshman engineering students of SLSU Lucena. Ang nakikita nyo lang ay PowerPoint, tama?
Opo, sir.
I-share ko yung buong screen. Can you see it now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so ito. Punta tayo sa chapter 3, methodology.
So, tatanggalin natin. I-check ko ha, sabihin sa akin kung sige
Okay, so syempre, ang una, may introduction kayo. Bahala kayo kung ano gusto nyo ilagay na introduction. You can copy concepts from other researches, pero make sure na nagre-reference. So this chapter presents the methods and procedures that were used. Tandaan, past tense ito, pero sa inyo ay future that will be used by the researchers in conducting the study to enable the readers to understand how the study will be made and how conclusions will be drawn. It presents the research locale, respondents, research design, research instrument, data gathering procedure, evaluation criteria, and statistical treatment. So, research locale. Same format tayo ha. Maliliit ang chapter I. Malalaki ang methodology. May cover ang page number. Okay. Okay lang sa akin kung ang chapter 3 nyo ay page 1 ang nakalagay kasi hindi pa naman natin tinatahi. So sa mga susunod na meetings, sa consultations, pag na-publish na natin yung bawat chapters, kasama ang inyong mga advisors, syempre, di itatahi na natin magkakasama. Then, the research locale, ito lang. So this study was conducted in Lucena City, Southern Luzon State University, Lucena Campus, and was focused on the college readiness in mathematics for freshman engineering students. So it depends on your study, kung ano ang lokal na ginagamit ninyo, depende rin sa title. Kung SLSU Lucena ba yan, kung restaurants in Lucena City, kung saang lugar, kagaya na sabi ko kanina, kung sa Quezon, kung sa Laguna man yan, o kung barangay, specific barangay, you put it into the research locale. Naintindihan ang lokal? Okay, let's proceed with the next part, which is the respondents. In your case, depende sa dami ng inyong respondents. Usually ay population and sampling ang ginagamit natin na term. So yung nandito kasi ay respondents, pero posibleng mag-iitong population sampling. Anyway, yun lang muna ipangalan din lamang. So respondents are those persons who have been invited to participate in a particular study and have actually taken part in the study. This definition applies to both the qualitative and quantitative studies. So kung ang inaaral ninyo ay tungkol sa NC, ano nga sa PWD, so they were your respondents, no? So i-detail nyo lang kung ilan sila, bakit sila, ano sila. So for an example, look at this. A total of 50, then open close 50 respondents were selected for the study. Ito ay past tense. Uulitin ko, dapat naka-future tense. Then, anong uri ng sampling ang ginamit? Nakalagay dito, stratified random sampling was used. They are the freshman engineering students enrolled at Southern Luzon State University, Lucena Campus, first semester of the academic year 2018-2019. The respondent strata were composed of 7 freshmen from each of the kasi 7 section, computer, electrical, electronics, industrial, mechanical A, and mechanical B sections, and 8 respondents from the civil engineering section. So, para maging kasi 7 times 7 is 49, 7, tama ba? 7 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7 times 6. 42. 50 kasi ang kailangan. So, plus 8 na civil engineering. Yan. Nakastrata yan. Mamaya dadaanan natin sa statistical treatment yung stratified random sampling. No? So, ngayon, pwede rin ditong i-discuss. Halimbawa ay 3 na nanggaling kay Restaurant A o kay Jollibee, 5 kay Chowking, 5 kay ganito, 5 kay ganon. You make details. Naintindihan natin ang population and sampling?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So for the developmental studies that will be conducted by Comprog, ang gagamitin nilang term ay respondents. This refer to the evaluators. For you, we will be using population and sampling. Pero kung i-comment ng panel na gusto ay respondents, we will proceed with the respondents. Malaya naman tayo sa mga ganyan suggestion. So for food and service management students like you, they will pursue or you will pursue descriptive studies and will use the phrase population and testing sampling area. To determine the sample size of the population, a formula by Slovin in 1960 is given below. So, ito yung formula na ginagamit natin kapag sobrang laki ng population. Kaya nga ang title nyo ay population and sampling. Kumukuha ka lang ng sample mula sa given population. Katulad nung in-explain natin kanina sa assessment. So, pag population, lahatan, pag sampling, certain portion lamang. Paano mo makuha ang certain portion na yun? You will need to use the formula n is equals to n all over 1 plus n e squared, kung saan n is the sample size. Mali din yung formula. Capital N yung nasa taas.
Until Sunday, this coming Sunday.
Wait lang. Edit natin.
Tapos, yung group ko naman is until Monday next week. Yung group 3 naman until December 15.
Yan. So, n small is the sample, n big is the population, divided by 1 plus n, the population total, times the margin of error squared. So, n is the sample size, n is the population size, e is the margin of error. So, error is the percentage allowable for non-precision since the sample is used instead of a population. So, may margin of error tayo kasi hindi naman natin kinuha lahat ng nasa loob ng populasyon. Kaya merong konting sablay, pero statistically accurate pa rin naman. So, let's say for example, ano ba ako magsusunod? Let's say for example, ang iyong population ay 1,000.
For example, sa LTD at Nori, siyempre, mga important verbs, important characters,
First time kong gamitin yun.
yung mga
Ano nangyayari?
conflicts, solutions, nangyari, yung mga,
Huh?
yung mga politika doon sa litero, dun sa novel. So, yung mga important terms lang, sa highlight, yung highlight,
May nakuha na kayong data kung ilan ang total population ng inyong study.
tatlong topic.
Meron na?
Mga important terms lang din.
May idea na kayo, mga kapatid.
May question pa ba?
Wala pa po, sir.
Wala pa. Okay. Ginagamit lang naman ito pag sobrang laki ng population. Kung halimbawa,
Yes, Benedict.
mga estudyante, hindi mo pwedeng interview lahat. So, yan.
Answer.
Let's say ang population na meron halimbawa in terms of respondents, halimbawa, meron halimbawang 40 na restaurants sa Lucena, tapos bawat isang restaurant ay may tigil 5, ay di nasa 200 yun na respondents. Hindi mo kailangang i-spell out kuhain sila lahat. So, you substitute multiply by the margin of error. Multiply squared. .05.
Tanong pa kayo, so dapat yung
Point
pagbukas
05.
sa Kindle ito, makapag-submit sila ng report nila sa Sunday para ma-check ko yung content.
So, this is 200.
Okay ba? So, kayo na lang bahala.
Wait lang, nakakagyo.
Kung ano yung magiging task mo.
0.05.
Kung kayo ay magbubukod ng report, makahati kayo ng report, depende kayo, depende
Is 0.0025.
then, mag-prepare kayo ng 5
Times two.
methods para doon sa mga classmates.
Parang naman kayo mag-squared, ano?
Bawat report, may naka-prepare na 5 questions. Siyempre, yung 5 questions na yun, i-check nyo din sa akin na magiging positive yung question na yun. Ano pa kayo?
Okay. Naririnig pa ako at nakikita na sa screen.
So, kung wala na kayong tanong,
Opo, sir.
Okay, so let's say for example, ang total population na meron ka sa study mo ay 200. And 200. So substitute it to the formula, n, which is 200, all over 1 plus the n again, 200, times the margin of error, 0.05 squared. Naka-standard tayo sa 0.05. That's 5% margin of error. Ngayon, edi 0.05 squared is 0.0025 multiplied by 200 is equals to 0.5. Plus 1 is 1.5. Then 200 divided by 1.5 is 133.33. Wala naman taong 0.33, di ba? So, to cover up, itaas natin, gawin natin 134. Bakit hindi po 133 na lang? Kasi may labis na kaunting tao. Mas mabuti na yung labis ng data natin, mas madaling magtanggal kaysa maghagilap ng additional. That's why naging siyang 134. So, out of the 200 total population, 134 lang ang kukuhaan mo ng data. Sila lang ang iyong i-interviewin at bibigyan ng questionnaire. Naintindihan?
Opo, sir.
Okay. Si Oherio lang ang nasagot. Naintindihan ba ng iba?
Yes, sir.
Opo.
Okay, good. Let's proceed. So, there are different sampling techniques. Gaya yung katulad na nakita natin sa example, stratified random sampling ang ginamit doon. Gumagamit tayo ng stratified or strata, depende sa nature ng iyong sample. Katulad ng sample kanina, first year or freshman engineering students. Ini-strata sila kasi yung first year may kanya-kanyang strata o may kanya-kanya siyang section. So, mula sa section, may kinuha kang representative sa ganitong section, may kinuha kang representative sa kabilang section, mas marami ang population ng isang section, mas madami ang makukuhang representative mula sa kanila. Ngayon, bakit may random sa katabi? Ibig sabihin, random kang namili. Halimbawa, nagkuha ka naglagay ka ng mga papel sa bawat section, nagsulat ka ng pangalan, lagay mo sa papel, tapos hinalo-halo mo, tapos bubunutin mo. So, random kung sino mapili mo, sila yung iyong isa-survey o bibigyan ng questionnaire. So, probability sample. A probability sample is one where all elements in the population frame has an equal chance of being selected. Findings or researches using this can be used to infer the characteristics of the population. Findings are more valid when probability samples are used. So, kumukuha tayo ng sample at yung sample na yon, kung anong maging result ng kanilang data, ano ang analysis natin and interpretation na ilalagay natin sa research will represent the whole population. It is the same with the SWS survey. Ayon sa survey, nangunguna si ganito sa election, kung kaya ganito yung satisfaction rating ni President Duterte. Hindi naman lahat ng tao sa Pilipinas ay sinasurvey, pero kumukuha ng statistically accurate sample na kapag yung sample na yun ay nag-undergo ng research, kung ano man na maging resulta, kahit ulitin mo sa buong Pilipinas, halos kapareho lang din ang resulta. The only difference is the margin of error, which is 5%. Ibig sabihin, 95% accurate yung data na nakuha mo mula sa sample. So meron tayong simple random sampling, stratified, systematic sampling, cluster sampling, and multi-stage sampling. Pag non-probability sample naman po ang ating gagawin, it is one where not all elements in the population frame has an equal chance. Yung isa kasi, yung probability sample, lahat may chance. Itong isa, hindi lahat may chance. Ang tawag dyan ay convenience sampling, purposive sampling, and quota sampling. Isa-isahin natin yan kung bakit ito may chance lahat, ito walang chance lahat. Kasi kung ilalagay mo ang lahat ng pangalan sa isang kahon at bubunot ka, lahat may chance. Pero kung papasok ka ng classroom, titingnan mo kung sinong estudyante o papasok ka sa restaurant o kung sinong present na crew sa loob, ay sila yung bibigyan mo ng questionnaire at tawag doon ay non-probability sample. Unlike dun sa nilista mo lahat ng pangalan ng crew, tapos may specific kang mga pangalan na hinahanap na kahit absent siya, ito po kasi yung nabunot ko sa sampling. So siya po yung kailangan kong kuhaan ng information. Hihintayin ko po siya. That's probability sample. Pag non-probability, medyo ang tawag doon ay convenient sampling kung saan mapapadali. Most of the time we use this kasi pagpasok mo ng restaurant, alang hintayin mo kung sinong available na nasa loob ng crew, sila na lang yung i-interviewin mo. Ngayon, kung PWD ang hinahanap mo at sila ang magbibigay ng information, mukhang hindi tayo pwede sa convenience sampling. Kailangan mong mag-probability sampling. Kasi hindi naman pwedeng magsagot yung hindi PWD. Okay. Meron tayong purposive at may quota sampling. Pag-usapan natin yung probability sampling techniques. So, pag simple random sample, this is the best known and most commonly used probability sampling. Pinakamadali, pinakasimple. Pag random, wala kang kung anong makuha. Itong simple random ay parang related. Paano mo siya gagawin? Parang related siya kay lottery method. Kay lottery, parang lottery. Parang bulahan ng loto. This is popularly known as the fishbowl technique. It is applicable to finite populations. Yung kukuha ka ng isang fishbowl o lalagyan, ilalagay mo yung pangalan, tapos bubunot ka. Parang Christmas party lang. Next is the table of random numbers. This is considered as the most systematic method for getting sample units at random. Pag sinabing table of random numbers, let's say for example, may table ka, may nakalagay sa table na random numbers. Let's say 1, 8, 5, 6. Sa Excel, pwede kang mag-generate ng random numbers. Tapos, mula sa table ng random numbers, dun ka kukuha ng sample. Halimbawa ay, what is the first number sa table? 2 po. Sino ang second? Respondent. Titingnan mo sa list mo, yung pangalawa, okay, ito ang ating respondent. Kapag naman halimbawa, anong next na number sa random table? 5 po. O, sino pang 5 respondent? Ito po si number 5. O, siya yung magiging nating sample. So, itong mga ito ay ginagamit kapag nagte-test tayo o nagsasample tayo. Ngayon, i-detail nyo rin ito sa respondents or sa population and sampling kung ano ang ginamit ninyong technique. Okay. Pag stratified, yung in-explain ko kanina. Okay. Systematic sampling, usually ginagamit ito ng mga ahensya ng gobyerno. Masyadong, paano ko ba-explain? This is a strategy for selecting the members of the sample that allows only channels and a system to determine the membership in the sample. Example, meron kaming project na tinatawag na Citizen Satisfaction Index System or the CSIS. Ang ginagawa niya ay nagsasurvey ng mga tao o ng mga citizen to gauge or to measure the level of satisfaction nila sa serbisyo ng gobyerno. Ngayon, hindi ka pwedeng basta pumili ng respondents. You need to undergo the systematic sampling with a random start. Systematic siya pero may random start. So, paano siya ginagawa? Hindi pwedeng pagtapat mo ng bahay, i-interviewin mo na. So, we are following different system. Una, nag-identify kami ng starting point. Let's say, ang starting point mo ay, ang identified namin doon is medical facility, hospital o clinic man yan, o kaya barangay center, o kaya naman ay school, o kaya naman ay church, and so on and so forth. So let's say for example, sa system, ang napatapat sa'yo bilang interviewer ay barangay captain's house. So that's your starting point. So mula dun sa barangay captain's house, ang next nun ay yung random start. Ito na yun. So magge-generate naman kami sa Excel ng random start. Halimbawa, ang na-generate kay Excel ay 3. So mula sa barangay captain's house, bibilang ka ng 3 bahay sa kanan. We're also following yung tinatawag na right shoulder rule. Pag mag-identify ka ng bahay, ang lakad mo, yung kanan balikat mo ay dapat nakadikit o naka-adjacent sa mga bahay, yung kanang balikat. Then lakad ka mula sa barangay captain's house, you count 1, 2, 3 because of the random start 3. Naiintindihan niyo pa ako?
Opo, sir.
Okay. So ngayon, pagdating mo ngayon dun sa 3 bahay, that's your random start. Dun ka magsisimulang mag-interview. Pero pagpasok mo, because of the systematic sampling, may system ka pa rin sinusunod, hindi pwedeng pagpasok ay basta ka mag-interview. Ang base sa system, kapag ang hawak mong questionnaire ay odd number, let's say questionnaire number 1, ang i-interviewin mo ay lalaki. Kapag ang questionnaire number mo ay even number, let's say questionnaire number 32 ang hawak mo, ang interviewin mo dapat ay babae. So pagpasok mo ng bahay, random start number 3, 3 bahay mula sa barangay captain's house, kailangan mo ngayong hanapin kung babae o lalaki ang interviewin mo. So kung halimbawa ay Number 1 or questionnaire number 1, lalaki. So hanap ka ng lalaki. At hindi lang basta lalaki. Dapat 18 years old and above, nakatira sa bahay o sa barangay ng 6 months and above. So yun yung tinatawag natin na systematic sampling with random start. Very complex siya. No? Pag tinawag naman natin cluster sampling, instead of ang hinahanap mo ay individual, ang hinahanap mong sample ay cluster or group of people. Hindi isa-isa, kundi grupo-grupo. So it is sampling in which groups, not individuals, are randomly selected. Pag multi-stage sampling, bihira ang gumamit nito kasi very complex. Ito ay sometimes, somehow, combination ng iba't ibang mga, itong iba't ibang mga techniques na ito. Pinagsama-sama. That's the multi-stage sampling. You need to have a lot of effort, time, and expense. Yung mismong multi-stage sampling procedure pa lang ay parang kasing haba na ng isang research. No? Pero you can assure a fully randomized population in a very comprehensive system. For you, we never require naman this very comprehensive kahit na itong systematic at cluster sampling. Dito lang tayo ikot, pwedeng ladder method, table of random numbers, simple random sample. Related tong dalawa ha, at saka colloquial na magkahiwalay pa sila. And the stratified random sampling. Mukhang magkakaroon tayo ng stratified kasi halimbawa, ang crew lang halimbawa ng Jollibee ay 8, tapos ang crew ng Chowking ay 32. So hindi pwedeng pareho lang sila ng representative. So mas marami yung crew, mas maraming makukuha ang representative. No? You refer to your advisor kung paano kinocompute ang stratified random sampling. Madali lang naman niyang gawin. Ngayon, pwede nyo rin naman akong tanongin during consultations. Okay, let's proceed to the non-probability sampling techniques. Yung isa kanina ay probability sampling, ito ay non-probability sampling. Yung isa, lahat may chance, ito, walang chance lahat. The first is the accidental or the convenient sampling. Yung katulad na sinabi ko kanina, kung sinong available, sila interviewin ko. Convenient kasi. Yun yung sa ikagagaan mo. So this allows the use of any available group. Sinong available na grupo, sinong nandyan, sinong present, siya ang interviewin natin. No? So we use this kind of sampling, convenient sampling. So pakitandaan ha, sa population and sampling, gusto kong makita kung ang ginamit nyo ba ay probability sampling or non-probability sampling technique at anong uri ng technique ang ginamit mo. Pag purposive or deliberate sampling, ginagamit din natin to. Bakit siya purposive? Kasi sino ba ang i-interviewin ko? Ano ba ang nature ng study ko? Tungkol sa mga PWD crew, di purposive. Kung anong purpose, yun ang kukunin mo sample. PWD ang kailangan mo, di PWD ang kailangan mong interview. That's purposive. It is a deliberate sampling technique where the researchers select particular group or groups based on a certain criteria. Halimbawa, comprobe ang course mo, ipapa-evaluate mo ang system na ginawa mo, mobile application na ginawa mo. Alangan mo kumuha ka ng mag-e-evaluate na nagtitinda sa palengke o kaya nagtitinda ng taho sa labas. Of course, depending on the purpose, kailangan mong kuhain yung mga experts na merong kaalaman o sapat na knowledge dun sa pinag-aaralan. So that's what we call purposive sampling. Next is the quota sampling. This is oftentimes used for infinite populations kapag hindi mo na mabilang ang populasyon ng iyong aaralin. And therefore, the researcher cannot get a random sample for such very big population. Like the purposive sample, this is not a representative sample. We'll never go to this type of sampling. No. Limitado lang ang bilang ng ating population. Okay. Gets po si respondents? Ha?
Opo, sir.
Okay, mabuti yan, mabuti. Let's go with the next part, which is the research design. Ito namang research design ay napag-usapan na natin sa Module 1. Research design, there are two general types of research design, the quantitative and the qualitative. So each of which describes the processes followed in collecting and analyzing the data. Pag quantitative research design, alam natin, it involves numbers. So it collects and analyzes numerical data from a sufficient number of participants in order to arrive at statistically meaningful data. It maintains control over factors that might interfere with the data collected. Nakokontrol mo kasi kung ano lang ang nakalagay sa questionnaire mo, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, satisfied or not, pag customer satisfaction, PWD, satisfied or not, may connection, NCO wala, ano pa ba? Hygiene and sanitation, so on and so forth. You control it because you refer to number. Walang choice ang iyong respondents na mag-comment ng ibang mga bagay kasi mag-check lang siya ng 1, 2, 3, 4. So kung ano man yung komento niya, edi i-gauge niya, i-measure niya kung 1 ba yun, 2 ba yun, 3 ba yun, o 4 ba yun. Then check it. Ibig sabihin, ikaw researcher, you have the control. Kung anong sinet mo sa questionnaire, yun ang lalabas na data, kontrolado mo. So it states the hypothesis and therefore allows the deductive logic of reasoning. May hypothesis tayo, especially kapag relationship o kaya kung differences ang ating hinahanap. And it utilizes non-interactive research instrument like questionnaire, checklist. Non-interactive kasi hindi mo kailangang makipag-usap dun sa respondents. I mean, kailangan mong makipag-usap for the sake of introduction, but during the gathering of data, hindi. Parang magandang araw po, may survey lang po kami for research. Ito po itong sa ganito at ganyan. Maaari po bang pakisagutan ng aming questionnaire? Then, hayaan mo na silang magsagot. Then, ibabalik sa'yo, may data ka na. So, that's quantitative. For qualitative research design, alam naman natin na ang pinaka-ginagamit nito is interview. Wala kang questionnaire na may 4, 3, 2, 1. Hindi sila nakukulong doon. At lahat ng kanilang sinasabi, ang kanilang reaksyon ng mukha, ang pagpigil nila ng pagsasalita, lahat yan ay inire-record natin. So we collect and analyze non-numerical, narrative, and visually observed data about the problem. So kayo, depende din sa pag-uusap nyo with your advisor if you are going to use quantitative or qualitative research design. Pwede naman alin sa dalawa. Kaya nga lang, when it comes to time consideration and the processing of data and your level as undergraduate students, mas ine-encourage ko yung quantitative kasi mas madaling mag-interpret ng data. Pag qualitative data ang ini-interpret, it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort kung paano mo siya i-interpret. So you don't have to state hypothesis before data are gathered because of qualitative research design. Do not control contextual factors. Hindi mo kontrolado kung ang tinanong mo sa kanya ay kayo po ba ay kumusta ang opinion sa hygiene and sanitation? Magsasalita na yan. At habang nagsasalita, pwedeng may pumasok na iba't ibang mga topics kasi nag-i-interview ka. Lahat ng yan iti-take note mo. Lahat ng yan bibigyan mo ng consideration towards the end pag ina-analyze mo na yung data. No? So wala kang control sa contextual factors. Pwede mo siyang kontrolin sa pamamagitan ng art of questioning. Dapat magaling ka rin magtanong. Yung tipong at the back of your mind, ang sinasagot ng kausap mo ay parang sala na sa tinatanong mo. So mag-follow up question ka para maibalik siya sa kung ano ba talaga yung tinatanong mo. So kailangan mo rin ng art of questioning para maging effective ang pag-gather ng data. Tapos, bilang researcher, bawal ka ring magpakita ng emosyon, bawal kang magpakita ng excitement during questioning o kaya ng kalungkutan during questioning kasi naaapektuhan ito kung ano yung sasabihin ng iyong kausap. And with that, nagiging bias ang nakukuha mo na data. No? Ganon ka-komplikado si qualitative research design. It limits the number of research participants because of the time-intensive data. Yun nga lang, si quantitative, as much as possible, we require 25 and above. Mas madaming sample, mas madaling mag-generalize. Pero pag qualitative research design, konti lang ang respondents natin. Let's say 5. Ang minimum ay 5 para yung research mo ay maipublished international or national level. Pero pwede rin naman na isa lang kung case study yan, pinag-aralan mo yung tungkol sa buhay ng isang baliw na taong naglalakad dyan sa karsada, pwedeng isa lang. Kaya nga lang, for the sake of publication, dapat at least man lang po ay 5. No? And very rich kasi yung usap ninyo. Kasi isang respondent, napakarami niyang i-discuss sa iyo. May paiyak-iyak pa yung pag kinausap mo. Pwede kasama lahat yon sa iyong i-take note. Most of the time, nire-record ito. Pag nag-interview ka, naka-recording. Pero hihingi ka dapat ng consent na magre-record ka. O kaya magte-take ka ng picture, so on and so forth. So, yan ang kaibahan ng dalawa. So, to develop deep-rooted principles regarding the differences between the aforementioned approaches, you can study the table below. Yan. Basahin nyo na lang yan. Generally, if I were you, I will be focusing more on the quantitative method. O kaya naman, pwede namang you're dwelling on the quantitative method, pero towards the last part, ay mag-i-involve ka ng qualitative method. Let's say, for example, yung isa kong advice na hygiene and sanitation, kina Casido. Casido, Revillame, okay, wala sila. Parang, wala sila. Para kasing, ang kanilang statement of the problem, yung statement 1, demographic profile, pag nagkuha ka ng demographic profile, pwedeng quanti, pwedeng quali. No? Pero yung kanila nakakonsentrate sa quanti. Kasi ilang taon na nag-i-exist yung restaurant, ilan ang crew members, that's quantitative. Yung second nilang problem ay ano ang perception ng employer at saka ng may-ari o ng supervisor at managers ng restaurant tungkol sa hygiene and sanitation. So, you can measure that as 4-3-2-1, quantitative yun. Yung pangatlo, ano naman ang perception ng customer? So, 4-3-2-1 as well, quantitative din yun. Yung pang-apat, ano ang significant difference ng dalawang perception? Perception ni employer at employee at perception ni customer. So, titingnan mo, may pagkakaiba ba sila ng perception tungkol sa hygiene and sanitation? Still, because you are measuring the significant difference, ano pa rin siya? Quantitative. Pero dun sa number 5 statement of the problem, ano ang pwedeng isuggest para ma-improve ang hygiene and sanitation ng mga restaurants in Lucena City? That's qualitative. So that's an open-ended question. Pwedeng magsulat ng manager, pwedeng magsulat ng customer, and mula doon, you can draw data qualitatively para makagawa ka ng isang plano na isasama mo sa iyong research. Okay? Naiintindihan po natin ang research design. Okay, so pag nag-state ka ngayon sa chapter 3 ng research design, kahit napakahaba ng discussion, ito lang yun. So the research design that was used or that will be used is descriptive method which attempted to establish significant difference if you are establishing a significant difference. But if you're establishing a significant relationship, edi you would write it in the research design between groups of subjects on the basis of criterion measure. Descriptive research describes the data and characteristics about the population or phenomena the researchers wants to study. Kinuha yan kay Bernard 2012. Ang trend natin sa SLSU, i-discuss mo muna, ano ba? Descriptive method daw. Ito nga, walang nakalagay kung quanti or quali. So for the sake of improvement, pakilagay po natin sa ating paper kung quali or quanti ang gagamitan ha. Ba, kung quantitative but descriptive. Yan. Ang pinakamalaking ay yung quali-quanti, pili sa dalawa. Then sa under nun, descriptive ba siya or developmental ba siya? Okay. Then next nun, paki-define po yung design mo. Kumuha ka sa internet, yung updated ha. Okay, let's proceed now with the research instrument. Research instrument or the questionnaire or survey material. This part of research describes the tools to be used by the researcher. So the tool refers to the questionnaire to be constructed, validated, or administered. Sino ang gumagawa ng questionnaire? Kayo ang gagawa niyan. Iba-validate ng panel, then kayo rin ang mag-administer. So instrument that is prepared by the research should be tested for validity or reliability. Hindi pwedeng walang research instrument kung quantitative. Kung qualitative naman, kailangan meron ka ring research instrument kasi kailangan mo ng guide questions for interviews. Meron nga lang mga existing researches na ang approach ay content analysis. So pag content analysis ang approach sa research, qualitative, walang research instrument. Kasi pag sinabi mong content analysis, kukuha ka ng mga publications, kukuha ka ng mga materials, then mula sa mga materials na yon, i-analyze mo kung anong laman. No? Halimbawa, meron akong isang study na ang title ay BT-VT-Ed versus BTTE, Comparative Analysis on the Technical Vocational Teacher Education Curricula. So, ang gawa ko dun ay kino-compare ko si BTTE with the BT-VT-Ed. Content analysis siya. Tingnan ko ano ba yung curriculum meron si BTTE at si BT-VT-Ed, ano ang sinasabi ni CHED, anong sinasabi ng mga libro. So that's content analysis. Wala kang research instrument kasi wala ka namang kakausaping tao. Ang gagawin mo lang ay mag-a-analyze ng documents. Okay? So however, if the instrument is standardized, halimbawa, kumuha ka ng instrument sa internet, which is a standardized instrument. Nag-undergo na siya ng reviews, validation, reliability. Okay lang yun. Basta ilalagay mo sa research instrument na kinuha mo siya kay ganito at kay ganyan para hindi tayo na-plagiarize. But you should indicate the reliability coefficient kasi baka mamaya meron kang nakuhang instrument online, hindi naman standardized. No. So, in the same manner, the author from where the questionnaire was adopted should be given credit through citation. So, anong iba't ibang tools or research instrument? Pwede kang gumamit ng questionnaire o yung survey. Pwedeng interview, pwedeng observation, or document or records. So, gaya ng sabi ko kanina, kinoconsider pa lang instrument ng documents or records. Okay, so ito yung document analysis. Pwede rin naman nag-observe ka. So pag nag-observe ka, may hawak kang checklist. Okay, nag-interview ka, may guide questions kang hawak. Or pag questionnaire, katulad ng mostly na gagamitin ninyo, ay di meron kang Likert scale na 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 or 4, 3, 2, 1. This questionnaire. Dapat ang questionnaire ay malinaw ang lengguwahe, paligoy-ligoy. It should be specific. Questions should show singleness of purpose. Isa lang ang tinutungkulan, hindi yung maraming sinasaklawan sa mga statements. Isa-isahin. Then the question must be free from assumptions. The question must be free from suggestion. Remain neutral as possible. And the question should have linguistic completeness and, of course, grammatical consistency. Dadaan naman sa amin ang questionnaire ninyo. Ipavalidate namin yan. Pipirmahan namin yan bago kayo mag-conduct sa second sem. So, meron tayong open-ended questionnaire. Pag open-ended, yung katulad ng sinabi ko kanina tungkol sa hygiene and sanitation, ano po kaya ang inyong maisasabi tungkol po dito? That's open-ended. Pwede naman close-ended, ay di, pipili lang 4, 3, 2, 1. Quantitative ito. Walang choice yung tagasagot kundi pumili dun sa 1, 2, 3, 4. Pag interview, ginagamit sa qualitative investigation, na ipaliwanag ko na kanina. Pag one-on-one, that's interview. Pag madamihan, pwedeng focus group discussion ang tawag. So, para ka nag-i-interview in a group of people, then gumagamit ka rin siyempre ng guide questions. Halimbawa, grupo ng mga magsasaka o kaya ay yung grupo ng mga restaurateur o yung mga crew sa isang fast food. Pwede po bang sabay-sabay kong interviewin? Yan, that's focus group discussion. So, meron tayong iba't ibang uri ng interview. May unstructured, freewheeling, kahit anong lumabas sa usapan, sulat. Pag structure, meron kang sinusundang guide. Ito lang ang ino-note ko kahit anong sabihin ninyong mga information. Yung tungkol lang dito ang aking i-record. For the semi-structured, is the combination. Observation is a checklist. Okay. So, your research instrument should be valid. It should be reliable, and it should be readable. Ibig sabihin na kakarating sa level ng comprehension ng intended users. Kung ang iyong halimbawa, ang i-interviewin mo o ang iyong tatanungin o is-survey ay mga nagtitinda sa palengke. So therefore, hindi mo masyadong mailalagay ang mataas na expectation na maiintindihan nila yung questionnaire kung English ang statements. So, hindi mo naman ibababa. Ita-translate mo siya into Filipino terms para mas maunawaan. That's readability. Ngayon, kung sa palagay nyo, yung crew members sa restaurant ay kaya namang makaintindi ng English, edi go. Pero kung hindi, sa palagay nyo, ay, magkakaproblema ako sa readability, edi i-translate mo into Filipino para maintindihan nila. Kung yan naman yung taga Bicol, edi i-translate mo sa kanilang dialecto. Okay, naintindihan po natin ang research instrument? Okay, ngayon, paano mo ilalagay si research instrument sa chapter 3? It goes like this. The research instrument in this study was a mathematics aptitude test. Siyempre, hindi naman mathematics teacher itong mga nagre-research nito. Kaya, kinuha ito sa isang standardized instrument. So, the test was adapted from the college-level mathematics pretest of Mercer County Community College. So, you recognize kanino mo siya kinuha. The said test was designed in the way that it shall meet the main objectives of the study, which is to determine the college readiness of freshman engineering students of SLSU Lucena Campus. Since the researchers are not mathematics major, ito na nga yung sinasabi. So, professors, engineers, and experts on the field of mathematics was consulted for the content of the aptitude test. So this is validation. So the researchers highly encourage revision of the test to make it suitable to measure the mathematical ability and numeracy of the respondents. So ibig sabihin, i-revise nila yung material. Moreover, the researcher also adapted survey material. So ibig sabihin, dalawa ang ginamit ng research instrument, isang exam at isang survey material. So the survey material was incorporated in the first portion of the aptitude test. Thus, the instrument was divided into two sections, A and B. Section A is for the collection of information on personal data of respondents, while Section B consists of mathematical questions that will elicit responses about the respondents' aptitude in math. In testing validity of the research instrument, you need to detail it. The draft copies were presented first to the research advisor. Si research advisor ang unang mag-check niyan, and the area chairperson. The revisions and changes were strongly encouraged and accepted by the researchers for the appropriateness of the tool. After assessing the content and identifying any ambiguity of the items, several revisions and final validation of the material, it was then copied, finalized, and distributed to the respondents. Okay. Ngayon, saan ka bababase ng ilalagay mo sa loob ng research instrument? Binabase natin yan sa ating statement of the problem. Balik ka. Nakikita ang screen? Okay. You look at this. The statement of the problem. You start with 1. What is the profile of the respondents according to the following demographic variables? Senior high school strands and fields of specialization. What is the readiness in mathematics of freshman engineering students based on their grades in math in senior high school? And what is the readiness of freshman engineering students based on the adapted mathematics aptitude test? At kung may kaibahan ba daw yung dalawa? So, paano mo siya gagawin? Sa research instrument. So, ang unang lalabas dapat sa research instrument, malaman mo kung ano ang strand, ano ang field of specialization. Ano ang readiness nila sa math, base sa grade nila ng senior high school, at ano ang readiness nila base sa result ng aptitude test. So, punta tayo sa research instrument nito. Ang research instrument ay nasa appendices. And this is the research instrument. Nakalagay your title. Then, dear respondent, the purpose of this study, kulang na naman, is to examine the readiness in mathematics of freshman engineering students of SLSU Lucena. Please read carefully and answer the information needed as promptly as possible. All information gathered shall be used purely for research purposes and shall be treated with confidentiality. In the examination part, the aptitude test will measure your mathematical skills. A separate answer sheet is provided. Change fully your answer. When changing answers, make sure you have erased fully your previous answers. Thank you very much. God bless. Respectfully yours, the researchers. Tandaan natin, ano yung una nating statement of the problem? Ha? Yung strand, tsaka tracks. So, kailangan mong malaman yun. So, ano yung name niya? Optional palagi ang name kasi kung ayaw nilang lagay pangalan, okay lang. What we need is the data. Basta tama yung sample habang kuha-kuha sa kung saan paligid. Anong course na ngayon? Kasi kailangan ko lang malaman. Depende pa rin siyempre sa study nyo. Then, ito na yung first objective o yung first statement of the problem. Ano ang inyong senior high school track? So, kung academics, check. Then, please specify strand. So, nakuha mo na yung track, nakuha mo pa yung strand. Kung TVL siya, ilagay niya kung baking o bread and pastry. Kung academics siya, ilagay niya kung STEM. Kung arts and design, kung sports, ilagay. Tapos, anong pangalan ng senior high school na inattendan? Ano yung address? Ito yung mga dagdag information na lamang. So, gamit itong unang tanong sa instrument, makukuha mo na si statement problem 1. Kailangan makompleto mo yung statements. Yung pangalawa mo, ano daw ang college readiness sa math ng bata depende sa kanilang senior high school grade. So, i-check ng bata kung ano ba yung subject na na-take ko ng senior high school, then ilalagay ko yung grade ko. Yan. Grade. So, meron ka na ngayong grade. That's statement of the problem 2. For statement of the problem 3, ano ang readiness nila? Depende sa aptitude test. O do you have the aptitude test? E di mag-exam sila. Exam. Sana. Exam. Yan. End of examination. E di nag-exam na sila. May grade na sila. So, kompleto mo na yung statement 1 to 3. For statement number 4, you need to measure the significant difference on problem 2 and problem 3. Ngayon, hindi mo pwedeng ipasa yan sa respondents. Kasi yun yung processing ng data. So, gamit ang statistics, gagamitan mo na ng mga statistical techniques yung kung anong gagawin ko kay data ng statement problem 2 at statement problem 3 para makuha ko yung sagot sa statement of the problem number 4. Then, yun na yung ilalagay mo doon. Okay, nag-gets po natin kung paano ginagawa ang instrument.
Opo, sir.
Okay. Sana malinaw. Kung hindi malinaw, pakibalikan na lang po ang recordings. Then, let's proceed to the data gathering procedure. So, this part explains the experimental design in detailed presentation so that other researchers could replicate the procedure for the purpose of validation. Ang tanong dito ay, paano ka kumuha ng data? O how do you gather the data? Example, Flores 2007. For the purpose of acquiring data from the student respondents, a formal letter was sent to the offices of the campus director and the deans of the 4 institutes requesting permission to administer the research instruments to the sophomore students of the university. So, dinidetalye at kinikwento niya kung ano ang magaganap at ano ang nagaganap. Likewise, the researcher sends a letter to the college registrar requesting permission to obtain the grades of the respondents in English 3, Speech and Oral Communication. In accordance to the Data Privacy Act, consents from the students were sought prior to the request to the registrar. In addition, the class size was obtained from the records. The researcher personally administered the instruments in order to ensure a high retrieval rate from the respondents. Moreover, the researcher personally conducted the listening test. The students involved in the study was informed regarding the purpose of the study. They were guided accordingly for an effective and efficient accomplishment of the questionnaire. At the same time, they were secured of the confidentiality of their responses. Right after the questionnaires were answered and collected from the students, data were tabulated, analyzed, and presented for the realization of the purpose of this investigation. Okay. Yun yung data gathering procedure. Kaya dito kay readiness. Para ano, natin yung kanyang data gathering. Ayan. Data gathering procedures. So in this study, the researchers administered the research instrument under the approval and supervision of the research advisor. The researchers sought the help of the corresponding school. Pag kayo mangungopya, gawin yung future tense ha. I-rephrase. Southern Luzon State University Lucena Campus for prospective respondents, and the nature of the study was oriented to them. The researchers encountered difficulties in finding the perfect time to introduce the research to the respondents. So, kinikwento nyo rin niya yung problema na encounter. However, they visited and conducted meetings with the prospective respondents. Arrangements were requested to find time for the respondents to take the aptitude test. So the researchers started giving the research instrument, including the informed consent signed by the advisor, department chairperson, and the campus director. The researchers ensured the confidentiality of the information between the respondents and the researchers. Since the senior high school grades of the students are needed in the analysis of significant difference, the researchers seek the approval of the respondents to ask for the copy of grade or report card and/or Form 137A. This was as well to satisfy the Right to Privacy Act of the Republic of the Philippines. In addition, the researchers informed the respondents about the main purpose of the study, the duration of the examination to answer, procedures on how to answer it, information and their right to decline or withdraw. So may karapatan po na mag-withdraw or tumanggi ang respondents. The consequences of withdrawing or declining, and prospective research benefits. Upon completion of their responses, the researcher analyzed all the data gathered and generated some assumptions or conclusions that reject the null hypothesis. The researchers also informed the participants in the school about the results of the study. Okay, let's proceed now. Yung work plan, hindi ninyo ito part. Ito ay para sa Comprog. Yung system development ay hindi rin ninyo part. Ang project technical description ay hindi rin. Operation, hindi rin. Evaluation criteria. Okay, so meron kayo nito. Evaluation procedure is the qualifications or the criteria by which the project or product will be evaluated and how it will be rated. It also includes respondents who will evaluate the project and the criteria for interpreting the evaluation or the descriptive rating. Usually, 4-point Likert scale is utilized. So, sa evaluation criteria, ang dinidiscuss nyo naman dito ay yung panukat ninyo. Halimbawa, ang ginamit mo ay Likert scale. Anong ibig sabihin ng 4? Anong ibig sabihin ng 3? Anong ibig sabihin ng 2? At anong ibig sabihin ng 1? So, you discuss the evaluation criteria. Usually, it is represented using a table. Wala ito. Ito pala. Sige na nga. Ano na lang? Yung evaluation criteria ay isama na lang sa statistical treatment. Tingnan nyo to. The data was tallied, tabulated, and analyzed for the statistical treatment using average weighted mean for the respondents' grades in their senior high school math subject. In order to arrive at the results, the college readiness of the respondents were categorized as follows. Ito yung evaluation criteria. So sa kanya, beginning readiness, developing readiness, approaching readiness, proficient readiness, and advanced readiness. Ito ay hindi pwedeng basta inisip lang at lumitaw dito. Nakabase dapat ito sa existing standards. So ito ay nakadetalye ang standards sa Chapter 2 sa Review of Literature. So ito yung evaluation. Ngayon, kung halimbawa ay satisfaction ang inyong ginagamit, ang inyong topic ay tungkol sa satisfaction, ay di ang magiging parameters mo na 1, 2, 3, 4 ay halimbawa ay highly satisfied, satisfied, unsatisfied, highly unsatisfied. Yun yung ginagamit nating evaluation criteria. Then sa dulo, anong statistical treatment ang gagamitin? So, ito rin yung medyo katulad ng diniscuss natin kanina. Hindi ko na ito i-detalye kasi it takes 1 semester to study itong approach na ito. You can ask your advisor kung anong statistical treatment ang applicable sa iyong data, o kung walang idea si advisor, you can ask me, or kung wala rin akong idea, you can ask a statistician. You measure this person, yung pinag-usapan natin kanina. Kapag po tayo ay ano tawag dito, kung ang study nyo ay significant relationship ang hinahanap, pipili kayo dyan, t-test, z-test, f-test, person product moment correlation coefficient, and simple linear regression analysis or multiple regression analysis. Alam yan ng statistician. Usually, ginagamit namin na ito. Yan. Nung nakaraang mga study, ito ang ginagamit ko kapag relationship. Kapag naman difference, significant difference, ito yung ginagamit, chi-square tests. So, may mga formula yan. So, kung alam ni advisor mag-compute, ay di tingnan natin kung tatanggapin ng panel. Pero kung gusto ng panel ay dumaan sa statistician, kailangan nating magbayad ng statistician. Okay. That's it. Question? Question, mga kapatid. May tanong?
Sir, yung ano po yun? Yung sa chapter 2 po, yung ipapasa po muna namin yung ginawa po namin mamaya, tapos po ay hindi na po namin hintayin yung ubagay yung mga comments po, dadiretso na po namin sa advisor po. Oo.
Ganito gawin nyo. Halimbawa, nag-consult na kayo kay advisor, tapos nagawa kayo ng chapter 2. Wala namang problema kung nag-consult ka o hindi, basta nag-submit ka ng first submission. Then, titingnan ko yun sa panahon na nakatakda. Tapos doon, kahit na hindi ko pa nilabas yung aking mga komento, pwede na kayong mag-polish kay advisor. Actually, ang last say talaga pagdating sa paper ay si advisor at hindi na ako. No. So dahil nandito na tayo sa preparation ng papel, bagaman ako ay nagbibigay ng mga points, that's additional lamang. No. Pero ang pinaka may hawak talaga at responsibilidad sa paglilinis, pag-aayos ng inyong mga papel ay kayong dalawa kasama ang advisor. Pag sinabi ni advisor na hindi pa pwede ang papel na ito, magulo pa yung papel na ito, at hindi ko pa ito kayang iharap sa panel, at hindi pumirma si advisor, hindi kayo pwedeng mag-present sa January, hindi kayo pwedeng mag-undergo ng defense. Kaya as much as possible, you work with your advisor always, consult always. Pag may pinabago, baguhin agad, ibalik agad, pabalik-balik ang papel para ma-convince nyo siya na permahan ang inyong application. Wala akong control dyan, ha? Si advisor ang may control. So, ulitin ko yung tanong kanina ni RB. Mag-submit nung nagawa na, ito man ay dumaan sa advisor o hindi, mag-submit for the first submission. Ngayon, for the second submission, kahit na hindi ko pa na-check yung una, consult na kayo. Then, pagdating ng deadline ng second submission, isubmit ito. Okay. Ang paper quality ay mayroong 3 pagkukuhanan ng grade. Pero huwag kayong mag-alala, ang paper quality ay very minimal ang percentage. Ang malaki talagang grade ay manggagaling sa defense. Kaya pag hindi ka naka-defense, hindi ka papasa. No. So, ano yung 3 pagkukuhaan ng grade for paper quality? Una, first submission, galing sa akin. Second submission, galing ulit sa akin. Yung pangatlong grade ay manggagaling sa mismong defense. Yung rating sheet na pifill upan ng panel members, may nakalagay doon na paper quality ni Chapter 1, ni Chapter 2, at ni Chapter 3. So, depende sa kanila, pag in-rate na nila yun ang pangatlong grado na pagmumulan ng inyong grade. At yun ang mas mataas ang percentage kasi actual defense yun. No? Yung grade na nanggagaling sa akin ay parang somehow to monitor lang kung nag-i-improve ang inyong mga papel. Nagbibigay din ako ng deadline for the sake of ma-monitor natin kung makakaabot kaya tayo sa target nating defense. No? Ang defense natin, inuulit ko, ay January 26. That's Tuesday next year. So please, gawin natin ang lahat ng magagawa natin para matapos agad ang paper hanggang December para pagdating natin ng January, we will be working then on our research instrument, on the PowerPoint presentation, and on the preparation of videos for the oral defense. Naintindihan?
Opo, sir. Thank you po.
Okay. Maraming salamat din. Parang ang dami kong kausap. For those who are not in this class, please watch the video. Ina-upload ko naman yan. Ang problema nga lang kapag hindi ina-access. Okay. Any question? Wala na. If none, so the module is already updated or uploaded in the Google Classroom. The deadline will be next week. And try to cope up with the deadlines. Thank you very much and God bless you. Ingat. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. See you at 1 o'clock for our Fed 50. God bless.